So you're moving. That's awesome. It should be an exciting time, a fresh start. But let's be real, hiring the wrong movers can turn that excitement into an absolute nightmare. It is, without a doubt, one of the biggest decisions in the whole process. That's why today we're giving you a complete playbook, the essential questions you have to ask before you sign on that dotted line. This is all about helping you move with total confidence. Let's get right into it.
I mean, think about it. You find a mover online, the quote seems okay, and you figure you're all set. But what happens on moving day when the final bill is suddenly double what they told you? Or when that priceless vase your grandmother gave you, yeah, it arrives in about a dozen pieces. These are the kinds of horror stories we are going to make sure you avoid.
And that's exactly where this comes in. Think of this as your secret weapon, your personal playbook for the next few minutes. We're going to transform that moving day anxiety into pure confidence. How? By giving you the exact questions that separate the true professionals from the real problems. It's time to take full control of your move.
Okay, so here's how we've broken down the playbook. It's 4 key sections. First, we'll cover vetting the vitals. These are the absolute must-knows. Then, we're going to jump into decoding the dollars, so you know exactly what you're paying for. After that, it's all about mastering the move, the logistics. And finally, we'll wrap up by planning for the unexpected. Ready? Let's do it.
All right, let's kick things off with Section 1, vetting the vitals. Think of these as the non-negotiables. These are the foundational questions you have to ask right out of the gate, because getting these right establishes a baseline of trust and safety.
Okay, this right here, this is the big one. The single most critical question you can ask. Seriously, if you only remember one question from this whole explainer, please make it this one. A mover that's licensed and insured gives you a crucial safety net. This isn't just a nice to have. It means the company is meeting official government standards. So let's break this down because they're not the same thing. The license proves they're a legitimate business, that they're following the rules. But the insurance, that's what protects you. That's what covers your stuff if it gets damaged or, heaven forbid, lost. You know, accidents can happen even with the best crews, and you want to be sure you're covered.
All right, next up, you've got to do a little digging on their reputation. Any reliable company should be proud of their track record and more than happy to point you toward reviews from past customers. This is your chance to get the real story, to see how they actually perform out in the wild.
And when you're scrolling through reviews on places like Google or Yelp, you're not just looking for good or bad. You're looking for patterns. Are people consistently saying they're on time, that they're careful, that they communicate well? Comments like this one are a fantastic green light that you're on the right track.
And hey, don't stop there. Get specific. Ask them about their experience with your type of move. I mean, a local move across town is a completely different beast than a cross-country relocation. And you absolutely have the right to ask about the people who are going to be in your home, handling your things. Asking if they background check and train their staff is just smart.
Okay, we've covered the basics of trust and safety. Now, for Section 2, let's talk about the thing that causes the most stress and the most arguments on moving day, the money. This is decoding the dollars.
Listen up, because this one is a total game changer for your wallet. You absolutely need to know what kind of estimate you're getting, because trust me, not all quotes are created equal. Understanding the difference between these two is the key to avoiding that awful sticker shock when the final bill comes.
And here's the difference, plain and simple. A non-binding estimate is basically a ballpark guess. It might look lower at first, but it can easily go up on moving day. A binding estimate, on the other hand, is a locked-in price. What you see is what you pay. For peace of mind and financial certainty, a binding estimate is almost always the way to go.
But wait, even with an estimate, you have to watch out for the dreaded hidden fees. Sometimes a super low quote is just bait, and they plan to pile on a bunch of extra charges later.
So what you need to do is ask them point blank, can you give me a full list of any and all potential extra charges? Are you going to charge me for stairs? Is there a fuel surcharge? What about my giant sectional sofa or that piano? A truly professional mover will be totally upfront about all these costs. No surprises.
All right, on to Section 3. We've vetted them, we've decoded the dollars, and now it's time to master the move itself. We need to nail down the how and the when of moving day to make sure everything runs like a well-oiled machine.
You know, when it comes to moving, timing is literally everything. You need a crystal clear timetable, especially if you've got a landlord breathing down your neck to be out by a specific time. And for a long-distance move, getting a solid delivery window is absolutely essential, so you're not just sitting in an empty house for days.
So let's get specific.
Don't just settle for, "We'll be there next week." You need to pin them down on every single part of the timeline. How long will it take to load the truck? What's the actual transit time? Is that delivery window 1 day or is it a 5-day range? Knowing these details is the key to planning your life around the move.
We all have those things, right? The stuff that's irreplaceable. Antiques, that big screen TV, artwork, items that need a little extra TLC. You need to know exactly how they plan to protect your most prized possessions before they lay a single finger on them.
So when you ask, a real pro should be able to walk you through a clear plan, something just like this. First, they'll talk about using the right materials, not just old boxes, but things like custom crates. Second, they'll have a strategy for loading the truck, keeping fragile things safe and secure. And third, they'll have staff who are actually trained to handle these specialty items.
And here's one more thing on logistics people always forget to ask about: the gear. Is their truck big enough and in good condition? Do they show up prepared with dollies, moving blankets, and straps? You can tell a lot about a company by the quality of their equipment. It's a huge clue about how professional they really are.
And that brings us to our final section, planning for the unexpected. Because look, even with the most perfect plan, life happens. How a company handles things when they go a little sideways tells you everything you need to know.
These are the what-if questions that really separate the good companies from the great ones. What happens if your closing date gets pushed back and you need to reschedule? You need to know their cancellation policy. And what's their plan for a surprise blizzard or a massive traffic jam? A professional team will have a plan B and will communicate with you every step of the way.
So, there you have it. At the end of the day, choosing the right mover isn't about finding the cheapest quote online. It's about finding a reliable partner for one of life's biggest transitions. When you ask these kinds of informed questions, you're protecting your belongings, your budget, and most importantly, your peace of mind. You're not just a client anymore, you're the project manager.
So you've got the playbook. You now have everything you need to vet any moving company out there with total confidence. The power is officially in your hands to make sure you have a smooth, stress-free move. The only question left is, which company is going to be good enough to earn your business?